Hey you guys, so today I wanted to try out some Marc Jacobs products. They sent out their coconut collection, which was this eyeshadow palette and a few other things as well. And I'll also show you guys some things that I purchased myself in the past, just for shits. Marc Jacobs is such a funny brand because it's, first of all, beautiful. I'm so drawn to it whenever I go to Sephora. I like beeline to the Marc Jacobs section. I don't know why. I think it has something to do with their packaging. I don't know. But it's interesting because I feel like it's a brand that's not really talked about until kind of recently with the Shameless foundation. Shameless? I think that's what it was called. I feel like it's not a brand that's super talked about online. But anyways, I'm starting the conversation. So without any further ado, I think we can just jump right into it. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and apply the Invisible Undercover Perfecting Coconut Face Primer. I'm just gonna put this on my hands and rub it into my face like a spa. Yes, it smells almost like cake. I remember trying this primer once when I had really bad skin and it broke me out in a very horrific way. So I'm interested to try it again now that my skin is cleared up and see if it garners the same result. I'll have to update you guys in the next video. Well, I mean, I won't have to update you, you'll just see it. My skin will either be broken out or it won't. It feels beautiful, and I like that this feels more like a moisturizer rather than like a really silicone-y primer. That's a big reason why I kind of stay away from primers. I don't like the ones that feel like that kind of weird, like slippery, soft feeling. I always feel like they make my skin look more textured and my makeup look more thick. So I do tend to stay away from those ones, but I don't know, man. I mean, I'm getting older. You know, I'm not the spry 18-year-old I was once. So I do think if I ever did start religiously using a primer, it would probably be something more along those lines, unless it breaks me out. In which case, no, I won't. Okay, I don't have any of the Marc Jacobs foundation, so should I have prepared for that? Possibly. Did I though? No, I didn't. I'm gonna go put my foundation on off screen and my brows as well, and then we can jump back into the rest of the products and make this happen. Okay, be right back. Okay, foundation is on, seemed to go well over top of the primer. It just felt like a nice kind of like moisturizing base. I'm gonna jump back to face afterwards because we're gonna be using a lot of cream products, so I figured we'd work on eyes and then, you know, I do this anyways. Let's zoom you in so we can do our eyeballs together. Here we are, intimate. Okay, so I'm gonna be working with their new palette. This is called Fantasine, and it's all these sort of like peachy and bronze kind of colors. I've already used this palette once because I wanted to. I'm gonna start first with this color here. It's just kind of like a matte, muted, sort of peachy rose color. Lovely. I'm gonna grab that on a Smith 232 brush. My brushes were just cleaned last night. This is like a shocking affair. Matt was helping me clean my brushes last night, and he has A, determined that he does not enjoy cleaning brushes, and B, I've determined that his brush cleaning skills, they leave something to be desired, for sure. So I'm just really diffusing this color all up in my crease and my outer corner kind of area. I'm gonna grab a little bit of a smaller brush. This is a Smith 230 brush and the same color. I'm gonna tap off that excess and I'm just going to take it underneath the eye. Just to start our little blending gradient under there. Okay, using that, oh God. Okay, using that same brush, I'm going to dip into this color over here. This color does have a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's nothing crazy. Like, I definitely still feel like you can use it as a transition color if you want, because it's not too shimmery. But I'm taking that on the same brush and I'm putting it all the way across my lid. It's a little bit more of an intense coral, whereas the first one that we used was quite a bit more muted. I actually really like this eyeshadow palette. I feel like it's kind of like a take on the warm neutrals that have been so popular for the past like 2 years, but it's not such an obvious one. Like, it's not like Tarte Toasted or like the Urban Decay Naked Heat palette. It's in that same vein of being a warm neutral, but it kind of takes it to a different area. Okay, this brush is working out for me, so I'm gonna keep using it. I'm gonna dip into a little bit of that darker brown color. I'm gonna really tap off the excess on that one because I don't want it to be super dark. I'm gonna use it almost to deepen the colors that we have here rather than to apply like a brown. And I'm just keeping that on that outer corner. All right, now I'm gonna take the really bronzy color there, and I'm using a Smith 253 brush with this, and I'm putting that, oh boy, that just gave me a lot of fallout. Oh God. I can literally feel the fallout like falling onto my face. This is so sad. I'm just using kind of a clean brush. It's kind of clean to swipe upwards and pick up all the particles of that fallout. So I'm grabbing it on my finger so I can kind of press that onto the lid instead. And then I can use that brush to just sort of blend around. I'm gonna take this center color here, which is kind of like a duochrome color, and I think I'm gonna try and swipe a little bit of that over top of the copper. Ooh, maybe I'll do it on the inner and outer corner first to see how it looks. Oh yeah, I'm gonna keep it just on the inner and outer corner. This probably changes the look not at all on the screen for you, but for me, it just added a little bit more dimension. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of that color right there on just like a little pencil brush and bring it underneath my lash line. I have a bunch of the other Marc Jacobs palettes, but for some reason I feel like I've never really been that drawn to them. I'm not sure why. I just have never really ended up using them or touching them, but I had such a hard time decluttering them. I feel like my issue with a lot of the Marc Jacobs palettes is kind of similar to the Pat McGrath ones, and that's that there's colors in the palette that I like that are like really pretty and shimmery, but I feel like it's almost harder to create a whole look with them, whereas this palette, I feel like this is so beautiful and cohesive. Like I feel like you could do so many different things with this. Like you could use like that one and that one if you wanted like a really like super neutral day look. You could just do like a wash of like those corals over the lid if you wanted something really light and pretty for like spring. You could do the intense copper. You could do like a really intense smoky eye with that brown. Like there's just so many different ways that you can kind of go with this palette. And I feel like there's such a good kind of mix of like that duochrome. There's like a really good metallic and then a good amount of mattes to actually build a look with. I really like this palette is what I'm getting at. I'm gonna take the tiniest, like cannot stress enough, tiniest little bit of that brown, like literally just barely dotting my brush in, because the last time I was creating a look with this palette, I felt like I just barely dipped my brush in and I had so much product of that brown. I think the brown is just a really soft shadow. Okay, I'm gonna take that brown color and I'm just going to dip an angle brush into it and line super close to my lash line there on the outer corner. That one's giving me a little bit of fallout too, actually. So it seemed like the formulation was okay everywhere, but like the bronze one and the brown one just seems like it's a little bit too soft and it's so, like your brush just picks up so much product, so it makes it really tricky. And then with the bronze one, I mean, I don't know what's going on there, dude. So to deal with fallout, I just basically use a little fluffy brush and I kind of just brush upwards to pick up the leftover particles. And then I try to wipe away what I can with what's left over on like a concealer brush, but it's all clean right now, so there's nothing. If you need to and you haven't set your foundation yet, you can actually just use a wipe to wipe it away. And then I usually go over top with a little bit more concealer. Ooh, I do really like that though. Okay. I'm gonna pop on some lashes and mascara and then I will move on to the face. Okay, so overall for the eyeshadow palette, I love the concept of it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a really easy palette to use. It's versatile. The only thing to me that kind of falls short are these two shadows here. I feel like they're a little bit inconsistent with the other formulas in the palette. This one just because it's a little bit too soft, so you can end up picking up way too much product. And then this one because it just seems to have a lot of flaky fallout. I haven't tried the bronzy one yet with a wet brush, so I wonder if that would kind of help the formulation. That said, I do feel like there's certain products that have a price point where I feel like you shouldn't have to do anything to use it properly. It should just work. Marc Jacobs. I don't know, man. Maybe you need to work on that a little bit, Marky boy. Okay, so this is the Invisible Finish Line Perfecting Coconut Setting Powder. I actually have already tried this one because, okay, listen. I'm not a powder kind of girl, you know? I think you know this if you've been on my channel for a while. If you're new here, I don't use powders. I just don't like setting my face. I have dry skin. I like to look wet. You know the deal. So anyways, there comes a time where sometimes you just have to admit that it is summer and that you are not just dewy, but you are actually dewy and also sweating. Sometimes this results in parts of my face needing to be set with a powder. It's a horrific true story. So this setting powder is a very, very light yellow color. I tried using it underneath my eyes one day and I felt like it kind of darkened really quickly and it was very visible and noticeable where I had put the powder down versus where there wasn't powder on my face. I'm thinking It could be because I applied the powder really quickly after I had put my concealer on, so maybe my concealer was still a little bit too wet. So I'm gonna try it again underneath my eyes just for shits. I'm just picking up the smallest little amount of powder on a little brush, and I'm going to bring it underneath the eyes. Oh yeah, I feel like it looks fine now. I'm also gonna take this kind of on the sides of my nose because I'm sweaty. And I also like to take it on the sides of the nose there just because when I'm wearing my sunglasses, I hate having my makeup rub off. So I like to set it with a little bit of powder and then usually it's fine. And I actually feel like, oh my God. I feel like it actually looks really nice. I find that a lot of powders when I go to set my concealer actually makes my under eyes look really textured. Like it kind of makes it look crepey, you know what I mean? Like really fine little wrinkles. So that's why I don't normally set my concealer. But I feel like this actually looks fine. Like it definitely looks more matte, like it's been powdered, but it doesn't seem to be bringing out any kind of weird texture or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and try out the bronzer that came with the Coconut Collection. This is actually the same color that they always have. It's called Tantastic Omega Bronze. It's just in limited edition packaging. I dropped my phone on this. It really hurt my feelings. So I've actually bought this bronzer once before, but for some reason I feel like I didn't like it. But right now as I'm putting on, I feel like I do like it. I can't remember if it's that I didn't like it. This is the problem with having too much makeup, by the way. I can't remember if it's that I didn't like it or if it was just that it didn't wow me enough to keep using it. I don't know. It's also funny because I noticed when I was decluttering that there was a lot of things that I had held on to because I didn't like it the first time I had tried it when I wore my makeup so differently. But now that I wear kind of like lighter makeup and not as much coverage and not as much like intense eyes and all that kind of stuff, I found that there was a lot of things that I ended up being like, oh, I like this now that I do my makeup differently. I actually do really like this bronzer. I feel like it's a really good color for probably like fair to medium skin tones. I definitely can't see this being a choice bronzer for many people that had skin tones much deeper than mine, but I like that it's super buildable and it just still looks like a really sheer wash of color. Like I don't feel like I have to really think while putting this bronzer on, which is kind of nice. The formula actually makes sense to me why it's such a big pan size, because I feel like this is a bronzer where you could actually take a massive brush and put it all over your face. You don't have to use it more as like a contour bronzer. So this came with the Coconut Collection as well. This is the Fantasy Dewdrops Coconut Gel Highlighter. I had tried a different color of these dewdrops. They have one that's a little bit more of like kind of a goldy champagne color, and I had tried that and it actually is in my declutter pile right now. I can't remember if I really didn't like the formula or how it looked, or if it was more so just that I find it to be a pain in the ass to use liquid highlighters. I love cream highlighters. Liquid highlighters I feel like are such a pain because I feel like no matter how little you try to pump out, you end up bringing out way too much product, and then it's kind of like you have a hard time getting it onto your brush or your beauty blender properly, or even your finger. I just feel like cream products are so much easier to control because you can kind of pick it up directly on your brush, or you can put it onto the face in like stripes and blend it out or whatever, and you can really easily control the amount of product. Whereas with this, I feel like you pick it up and then you're having to put it on like either your hand or a palette or whatever, and then you're having to kind of like really work it into your brush or your beauty blender. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to try this color. I wanted to put it on almost as more of like a blush because I just feel like it's kind of more that color on my skin tone. So I just grabbed some on the big end of my beauty blender. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, that's so beautiful. I don't know why I was like expecting to dislike everything. Oh my God. Like that just, look at my face. Look at my face. I just feel like sometimes I think I know myself better than I do. And I'm like, I know I'm not gonna like that. Don't try it. It's like trying like some food that you think you're not gonna like and then you try it and you're like, God damn it, that's delicious. That's what I feel like just happened here. Oh my God, wow, wow. I feel like this, oh my Lord. I feel like this isn't even something where I'm like, oh yeah, that product is better than I was expecting. This just became like an instant favorite, and now I have to go through my fucking declutter boxes and find the other one because I don't know what was wrong with me before. And actually that color isn't as bad as I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be a little bit darker and kind of like more rosy, but it's actually just so pretty. I just feel like that's so pretty. I had literally taken out this highlight because I was like, I know that highlight ain't gonna be shit, so I'm gonna bring out my favorite highlight from them, and fuck that highlight. I was just gonna put it on as like a little bit of a blush so I could say I used it pretty much. Wow, I'm beautiful. Okay, I wanted to talk about this anyways, even though I know you're gonna be so distracted by my beauty now. But I wanted to give these honorable mention even though I'm not gonna use it now. This is the Marc Jacobs Spotlight Glow Stick. It looks like deodorant, and it's one of the best products I've ever used in my life. It's such a beautiful cream highlight. This was really one of the first products that got me into cream highlight. I wasn't a huge fan before this, and this was like my gateway drug. It's so stunning. It gives you that kind of like model skin look where it's sort of like more of like a wet, beautiful highlight such as this. This one's kind of nice because it has more of a kind of like golden champagne-y tone to it. So it's a little bit more akin to, you know, like what would be some really popular powder highlights color-wise. I feel like this formulation is also a little bit better for those of you that might have a little bit more oily skin instead of something that's super, super glossy like Nudestix Illuminati, because this is a little bit of a drier formula. So I feel like, first of all, it doesn't move around as much, and secondly, it's going to be a little bit better for people that need a little bit more of a dry cream so that it's not going to be something that's too dewy on top of skin that's already typically a little bit oilier. So just to show you guys, that's the product fully swatched, and then that is when it is blended out. It's just, good God, like it's just such a beautiful color, and I do feel like it has just the right amount of translucency to it where it's still going to be really intense and shiny on your face, but it's something that can kind of go across a wide variety of skin tones because it's not like a super ashy white base. Okay, for lips, I picked out a couple things that I already own. So the first one is the New Nudes Sheer Lip Gel in Eat Cake. This packaging to me is everything I've ever wanted because of that. Oh. I love magnetic packaging. That to me is like instant luxury. Like as soon as I feel that little pull and click, I'm like, oh, yes. So I'm just going to apply that. I wouldn't agree that this color is sheer. It's a little bit more sheer because I'm putting it over top of a really glossy lip balm. On its own, it's actually a pretty pigmented color. And then I think I'm gonna go over top of that with their lip gloss in Forbidden Fruit. I really do like this lipstick formulation. I was talking about this in my declutter video because I like this formulation a lot, but I found that I wasn't using these lip glosses as much because there were so many colors that I had in my collection that it just felt like every time I kind of looked at them, I was like, but there's like so many that it just made me not want to choose any of them. Like I'd kind of just go for a clear gloss or whatever. That's the one thing I would say if you were looking to purchase any of them. Not all of them are super sheer. Some of them have a lot more of like an intense pigmentation to them, whereas other ones look so sheer on. So it's kind of like a hit and miss product. I feel like it'd be one of those things that'd be better to pick up in person, unless you knew for sure there was like a specific color you wanted because you'd seen it in a video or whatever. But if you were just interested in checking them out because you'd heard people talk about the formula, but you wanted to look for other colors, I would try them out in person just because the amount of pigmentation varies so much from color to color. Okay, so round up, shall we? The primer, as I said, I tried before and it didn't work out for me. It feels nice, but I don't feel like it's done anything crazy or massive, like make my skin look so glowy or my makeup look so much better. I just feel like it's nice. It's definitely not something that I'd be like, you need this. The eyeshadow palette, I already told you guys my thoughts. I do like it. I feel like it's a memorable palette for me. I can actually picture myself going and picking it out of my collection to use. And I feel like it's a palette that's really easy to create looks with using only this and not having to reach for anything else. Just a couple little inconsistencies with the formula there for me. The dewdrops, new favorite. Like this looks so incredible. I also feel like since having applied them, like they've kind of dried down pretty nicely. They don't feel matte dry, but they do feel like they're there, they're on there. I don't feel like it's staying really creamy or glossy like some of my other cream highlights that I wear. So I do feel like this would be a good option for people that do have a little bit more oiliness to their skin, but still want that kind of cream appearance. Spotlight Glow Stick, I fucking love this product. I always will. It's one of my like all-time favorites. If you're kind of thinking between those two highlights, I would just really go based on color. This one's obviously a little bit more rosy. It might not work as well if you're not really tanned. This kind of does have a little bit more of that champagne-y gold color, so it will work across a wide variety of skin tones. This will be so pretty on deeper skin tones. Good God. The bronzer, I don't know what my problem was before. Loving it. I'm wondering if I tried this the first time when I wore kind of like more intense makeup and that's why I didn't like it, because it is kind of like a more sheer buildable formula. I don't know, but I love it now. The Marc Jacobs lipstick is gorgeous. I love the packaging, although the formulation, I don't feel like it's anything mind-blowing to me. It's pretty, it goes on well, it's not patchy, there's no problems with it, so to speak, but it's just not anything where I'm like, wow, best lipstick. Like I wouldn't walk my friend in Sephora and be like, you need that Marc Jacobs lipstick. I would do that with the Dewdrops. Lip glosses, I really like this formulation. They have so many gorgeous colors to choose from, but kind of the same thing as the lipsticks. I feel like it's a gloss and it works and there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's just sort of maybe not unique. That's a good way to put that. I think I was talking to Christy about this the other day. I can't remember. Maybe I watched it on her video. Maybe that wasn't a conversation we had, but it was just something that okay, well that's embarrassing. Either Christy and I were having a conversation or I was having a conversation with Christy whilst she talked to her general audience on a video. But she was saying something about how she feels like in general, makeup has gotten so much, it wasn't a video, I'm realizing now we didn't have this conversation, I just watched a video, that's so embarrassing. She was saying that she feels like in general, makeup has gotten so much better and so much higher quality that it's kind of like, everything's up here, so something has to be really, really fucking good for it to be like a little bit above like everything that's great down here. And then there's only a handful of products I feel like that are really shitty. So that's kind of glosses and lipstick for me. I like the formulations, I think they're really beautiful, but it's just not anything that I'm like, it's so good. Like the Dewdrops, for instance. Okay, the loose powder, I actually fucking like it. Again, this isn't something to write home about, but upon retrying it over concealer that was a little bit more set already, like it wasn't really freshly applied, I feel like it went on really nicely. It didn't make my under eyes look more textured or anything, which is typically why I stray away from powder more. So yeah, just something to note, if you do pick up that guy, definitely I wouldn't recommend applying it over top of fresh foundation. I would kind of wait a few minutes and wait until it kind of settles a little bit and is a little bit less wet. So that's everything for me today, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out and chatting. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something cool today. As always, you can let me know what you'd like to see next in the comment sections below. Everything I talked about today will be in the description box with links provided. All right, you guys, I'll see you next time. Peace out.